Good afternoon, everyone. So I get to talk to you tonight about relocation, and this seems to be the topic of discussion at all the meetings that we've had so far. So we're going to talk about relocation rights and responsibilities. I'm going to give you the sequencing for the relocation plans before we break up after question and answer so you can actually talk to your point of contact. So we're going to stay here after I'm done. We're going to do question and answers, and then we will have you break out and talk to your personal contacts. Right, I got the break button. Okay, so the redevelopment is going to require the demolition of all 618 units here in Tidewater Gardens. So that means all of the families will need to relocate. We are going to apply for for both a Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant, which is part of these workshops and charrettes that we've been having with you. That's the application that's due in September. And we're also going to apply for a demolition application with HUD that we are anticipating submitting in October of this year. If and when we receive HUD approval for the demolition, we will start the relocation process, and that's when you'll start being discussed with you your choices for your housing. And at the bottom, and you'll see this through a lot of the slides, don't start packing. Okay? What we have found in past projects with relocation, as soon as we start talking about it, residents start packing and they're living with boxes. We don't want y'all to do that. So we will let you know when it's time to pack, but don't start packing yet. We talked about the application, again, September and October timeframe for those two applications to be submitted to HUD. As mentioned earlier, the demolition is anticipated to begin in early 2019, and first relocation for phase 1 of Tidewater Gardens around summer of 2019. So as Ms. Thomas mentioned, if there are some areas you need to work on, you have about a year to do so. So that's plenty of time for us to get you to where you need to be for your move. And then overall, we feel that the demolition and relocation phasing will take between 3 and 5 years for all of Tidewater Gardens. And again, what's that bottom one say? Don't pack yet. Okay, so the biggie is relocation choices, one of the biggies. So you have the first main choice that you're going to be asked to make is, do you want to return to or stay in the St. Paul's area when you're asked to first move? If you do, you will have two options for your temporary move. One is to go into another public housing unit in one of our other communities, or you can take a housing choice voucher and move elsewhere in the city or outside the city. That is your choice, and that would be a temporary decision because your ultimate plan is to come back to the St. Paul's area. If you don't want to come back to the St. Paul's area, you have the same two choices, but this will be a permanent choice. So you would either go into another community that NRHA has, or you will go to a housing choice voucher location. That is your choice. So when we start meeting with you one-on-one, this is going to be one of the first questions we're going to want to know is, what is your housing choice? Now, you can make a decision now, but you have a right to change it. So until we tell you this is your final choice, you can change that choice as we're going through this process. We also will allow you, if you go to the Housing Choice Voucher Program and it doesn't work for you, you will have a right to come back to public housing and we will locate a unit for you. So that will be an option for you as well. Whatever your choice is, your rent will still be based on your income. You will still pay 30% of your income towards your rent. So whether you go to a voucher, you go to another community that we have, your rent will be based on your income. So some of the benefits for relocation, and this was discussed right before me through Susan and Kim. A lot of this you'll see with People First rolls out, but we will start working on this and providing this information to you now moving forward. But we will be responsible for all of your moving costs. And this is for your initial move, and for those of you who want to come back, for the move to come back. So that includes your moving costs, your actual moving expenses for your furniture to be moved, utilities that need to be switched over. If you have cable, you need to switch cable over to the other unit. We'll pay for that. We will also loan you money to pay your deposits, your security deposit for your landlord, utility deposits. We will be providing funding for that as well. We'll provide transportation to help you go out and look for units throughout the city of Norfolk. And we have relocation specialists, senior relocation specialists here tonight that will be working with you throughout the process, as well as the staff that comes on as part of the People First efforts. Some of the obstacles that we see when we're working with other residents for relocation are listed here. Rent payment history, especially if you're going to the voucher program, you have private landlords that you're dealing with. They're going to be looking at your rent payment history, your credit report, so you need to make sure that those are in order. And now is the time to start working on those. So if you've had some challenges, this is the time that we need to start looking at that and helping you work toward improving those. If you're going to the voucher program as well, a lot of the units, you will be responsible for your utilities. So you need to make sure that you don't have any past due old utility bills, or that you're going to have a problem getting utilities in your name. So that's something we need to start working on as well. Criminal history, and then search time sometimes can be a concern depending on how selective you are where you want to go to locate a unit. And again, I mentioned this earlier, but I just want to point out again that you can have the option of staying in Norfolk, or you can port your voucher out to anywhere else in the United States that will accept the voucher. And the last thing is very important, begin working with your resident service or client service specialist to address any possible issues that you may have now. So what to expect? Relocation phase 1, and we'll get to the phases really quick so you'll know exactly where you're at, and you will find that out before you leave tonight. But those residents, as mentioned earlier, that are in phase 1 will be assigned a personal contact person tonight. You'll get their name, their card, phone number, so that you can contact them at any time after we leave the meeting this evening. So they're going to answer questions throughout the process, help you with those repair items, addressing any lease concerns that you might have, advise you of your rights and responsibilities under the relocation, and conduct a self-sufficiency assessment. And that's going to help us figure out what resources you need to help you get to where you want to be. They're going to coordinate service referrals. If it's something that we can't provide, we will do a referral to our partner agencies, and of course keep you informed throughout this process of what's going on. For those that are in relocation phases 2, 3, and 4, what you need to do right now is continue to work with your resident services specialist, which is Miss Wanda Green, and she's here somewhere. So hopefully all of y'all know Wanda. So she can do the same things that we just talked about, help you with credit repair, answer questions that you have, make referrals if you need that for services and programs. Everyone in all of the phases, before you are required to move, we are required to give you a 4-month notice. That is the final notice prior to your relocation move. So 4 months prior to that date, you will receive a notice from the housing authority that your time starts at that point. And then we'll really beef up what we're working with you on to help you locate the unit based on the choice that you have made. Throughout this time, we're going to continue to have meetings. We're going to have individual meetings with the residents. We're going to have group meetings as well. We have identified residents in our other communities where we've done relocation that have gone through this process that are going to come out and talk to you so you can hear from a resident's perspective how this works and what you should look out for and information you need to know. And then what's the last thing? Don't start packing yet. We're not quite there yet. Some of your responsibilities during this time, the main one is, of course, you need to remain compliant with your lease agreement. Keep paying your rent. Make sure there's no lease violations. Report your changes as you're required. Come in and do your annual recertification that's required every year by HUD. Don't have unauthorized occupants. So remain lease compliant as we proceed through this process. And one important item is that in order for you to receive all of the relocation benefits and services that we've talked about, you have to be a resident in Tidewater Gardens. So if you decide to move out on your own prior to us getting to your relocation phase, you would lose any of those benefits that you're entitled to. So make sure that you stay with us and let us work with you through this relocation process. And again, don't start packing. And then just to let everyone know that you do have a right to appeal any decision that we make regarding the relocation process. If you're not happy with the decision of this process, there is an appeal step, and we will inform you of how to do that once we get to those steps. So we have some pictures here of some private housing throughout the city of Norfolk. These housing accept vouchers. So these are some options that are out there if the housing choice voucher is a choice for you. So you can see different variety. They look really nice. Here's some other examples. And then these are examples of NRHA housing that we have. And this is the biggie, right? The phasing. So there's 4 phases planned for the relocation demolition. Phase 1 is in the red. There's 187 apartments in that phase. You can see it's down part of City Hall and up between Fenchurch and Chapel. Phase 2 is the yellow. And that's between Mariner, Ruffiner, and that's 193 apartments located in Phase 2. Phase 3 is the green area around Holt Street, 116 apartments there. And Phase 4 is between Charlotte and Walk, and there's 122 apartments there. And as we stated, when we break up after the question and answer, you will be able to find out exactly where your address, I know it's hard from this map for some of you to figure out where your unit may lie, but they will be able to tell you that in the back of the room. And again, you will need your personal contact, and we have the contact information up here as well.